In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Kokuyo Auxiliary notebook. I'll go over the specs, I'll do a paper test, and I'll tell you what I like and don't like about this notebook coming up. Blake here with Blake's Broadcast. On this channel, I review fountain pens, paper, and ink, and as always, I put links in the show notes in the description below. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, it really helps out my channel. Alright, let's get on with the review. So, these are the Kokuyo Auxiliary notebooks. These notebooks were first brought to my attention by one of my subscribers, Sean Hampton, so thank you, Sean, for letting me know about these. I originally bought this one, which we'll be looking at more in depth, but I'll just give a quick overview of the auxiliary book line here. Now, they're called the auxiliary book because they're supposed to be sort of like an addition to Kokuyo's ledger books. So these are designed for record keeping, sort of archival quality, so they're really nice acid-free paper, just really well put together notebooks overall. And I liked this one here enough. You can see this one's a little bit beat up because this is the one that I've been using for, I don't know, maybe 3 months now. But anyway, I liked it enough that I decided to carry them at thepapermind.com. So I have all 4 of these sizes available at thepapermind.com, and for Blake's Broadcast viewers and subscribers, you can get 10% off with code BB10 at checkout. Now, just to point out a couple of the differences quickly beyond the size, obviously this is the A5, this is the biggest size. So this is the 200-page versions, which come in B5 and A5. These have rounded spines and 200, I think actually 208 pages, but there's 200 pages that are numbered, and I'll be going into this one in more detail here. Now with the 100-page versions, these have just regular flat spines. I'll show. The B5 version is paginated and it has an index, whereas the A5 version here, it doesn't come in a slipcase, it comes in this sort of brown craft paper jacket here instead of the slipcase. This one is not paginated and this does not have an index, but otherwise it's the same 7mm rule. All 4 of these have a 7mm ruling. There's no blank version, there's no dot grid version. These are really just designed as a supplement to ledger books. So now also in this line you can have proper accounting ledger books, which is not something that I think any of us would be interested in. It's honestly surprising that they still make a legacy product kind of like this, where I don't know who's keeping their books in actual physical books anymore, but very cool that they still make them. So let's start off with the B5 one here, and we'll take a look at some of the differences with these smaller two, the 100-page versions in a little bit, but starting with this here, we have our slipcase, and this one is a little bit beat up because, like I said, I've been using this one for I think about 3 months now. So starting out, we have this sort of bluish gray cover here and then a black spine with gold printing on the side here. This in Japanese I believe says Kokuyo. They look really nice. This one I've kind of bumped a little bit just in use, but they look really pretty all on a bookshelf. We have a blue book block. All of them have this blue book block. Boy, that's hard to say. And again, the 200-page versions have a rounded spine. And just to show, I'll show this one here. Square spine, but again, still have that gold printing on there. Look really nice on a bookcase. Okay, so opening it up, it almost looks like a woven pattern with Kokuyo and then some sort of like scroll work. Really pretty. All sizes have this paste down. It's really nice. And then this here is an index in Japanese. I have not personally used this, but if you wanted to list the contents of the book, you could do that here. And then we can go right into the sort of paginated pages here. So you have a big number up at the top of each page. And then we have a very traditional looking ruling here with light blue and then red up at the top. And if you notice, this thing stays very flat. There's really not a lot of work to be done getting the pages flat. I think just because of the size of this book, it stays open really nicely. Now going into an A5 version, this one does require a little bit more work, but The one that I've been testing, it does lay very flat. It just doesn't have the benefit of all the weight of the bigger book. But again, you're seeing the same layout here. We do not have page numbers, and we do not have a index in the A5 version. Now, in the B5 100-page version, we do still retain the page numbers and the index. So just small differences. Now going into the paper test, you can see we have a Pilot 6mm up here. Now this, you can see there is some feathering going on here, maybe a tiny bit on the 2.4mm as well. But then once you get into the regular size fountain pens, the broad italic, some stubs here, there's no feathering, and the face of the rest of the notebook looks really good. Everything is clean. And then we go to the back page here, and we can see that the Pilot parallel pens, which are very wet pens, did bleed through a little bit here. The rest of the fountain pens did flawlessly. You'll notice this is a Pilot V10, which is a very wet 1.0mm rollerball pen. That one came through a little bit. Otherwise, the rest of the pens did very nicely. Troublemakers came through. Stettler permanent marker came through a little bit. Sharpie came through. Pilot oil drawing pen came through a little bit, and the Copic sketch came through. So in terms of fountain pen friendliness, I consider this very fountain pen friendly. It's just not really suitable for those really wet nibs. Now, having said that, like, this is the Italic Edge, which is a very wet pen, and it's quite a wide pen. This is definitely one of the broadest sort of normal fountain pens that I have that's not, you know, a big calligraphy pen like a Pilot Parallel. And this really, we can give this a minute to dry, but it does not go through this paper. And this is about as broad as it gets, at least that I'm willing to use, especially with the 7mm rule. So I do consider this paper to be very fountain pen friendly. It's not a coated paper as far as I know. Kokuyo does not provide the specifications for this paper other than the fact that it's acid-free, it's archival quality. I don't know what the grammage is. My guess is it's around 100. It could be 90, but it's really hard to tell just by feel. You know, that's not really in a how you measure that. But there's no bleed through here with one of my broadest pens that I would use, you know, normally for journaling or taking notes in a notebook. So I consider it to be a very fountain pen friendly notebook. Now, it's 200 pages. Beyond the paginated pages, you know, this is a 200-page notebook. There are 6 pages in the back that do not have page numbers. And then there's, of course, the index up front. So it's 208 pages really in total. I love these notebooks. They're made super well. They lay really flat. They're really enjoyable to use. You can just see how good the quality of the binding is. It's really, really excellent stitched binding. I really enjoyed using these enough that I thought, let's bring these to the Paper Mind. That's pretty much it. They're really nice. Even the small A5 is a really, really nice notebook, just a little case-bound notebook, very enjoyable to use. So what are my pros and cons for the Kokuyo Auxiliary notebook? Well, the biggest pro for me is definitely the looks. I really like this blue textured hardcover with the black spine with gold foil, and with the 200-page versions we have this really nice rounded spine which just looks really good, looks really nice on a bookshelf. I also like the blue book block. The paste down has this really neat Kokuyo like logo that sort of looks like a woven pattern. Really nice. I like the kind of vintage looking layout of the ruling here with the red up top and the blue, and we have numbered pages here. It just has a very nice sort of vintage notebook feel. The build quality is really good. They lay flat. The paper is pretty fountain pen friendly. I've enjoyed using these notebooks a lot. It's just a really nice package, and it comes in a good number of formats. all the way up to, A4, 200 page size down to 100 page A5. So you have a good variety there in terms of sizes. You can find one that you will like. Now, in terms of cons, these auxiliary notebooks only come in a 7mm rule. There's no grid, there's no blank version. The only other options are actually like accounting ledger type books, so that probably won't appeal to most people unless you're keeping accounting records in a notebook, which would be pretty strange in 2022. But anyway, you basically get one page style. The other cons, I mentioned fountain pen friendly. It will bleed and feather if you use something really wet like a Pilot parallel pen. Some of the roller balls will bleed a little bit, but in my experience with these, most fountain pens, up to a broad, work really nicely with this paper, and it is a very nice, smooth paper to write on, very enjoyable to use. But that's pretty much it. Do you guys have this notebook? Do you like this notebook? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more fountain pen, paper, and ink videos, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much, and until next time.